We're introduced to Java conditionals in Chapter 4 of the textbook, and conditionals are really fun. It's one of my favorite things in programming. So first of all, right now we're only dealing with number variable types. So remember, our numbers that we know about are integer and double. So those are the ones that we're going to be working with. Right now, pretty much we're working with integer. So comparison statements, it's a test that can either be true or false. And the format of it, you have the if statement, and then in parentheses you have the condition, and then you have to have the curly brace. Inside you have the code that will execute, and it is indented, and then you have the closing curly brace. So now that we're into comparison statements and conditionals, you have to be super careful that you are lining up your code correctly, because everything needs to line up. So the reason is when you have an if statement in the middle of your other code, you want to see what fits in the if statement and what's in the rest of your main method, or your other methods. So you want to make sure that your alignment is correct. So be careful. All right, so there are 6 comparison operators that we're going to be concerned with. The first one is equal. Now notice that there are 2 equal signs. We use one equal sign normally when we are declaring our variables, when we're giving our variables values, when we initialize them, or so when you're comparing it, and if you want to say if it's equal to something, you have to do 2 equal signs. So this statement says if the variable num is equal to 1, then it's going to print the variable num. So we don't know what num is, but I have 3 comparisons over here. So I want you to think before I click to see if you have guessed it. All right, so if num happens to equal 1, we're gonna say, okay, if 1 is equal to 1, well, that's true. 1 is the same as 1. So we're gonna print out num. So I'm gonna click here, and you're gonna see, yep, that's what would appear on our output. Now, let's say if num is equal -5. Well, is -5 equal to 1? I think you will all agree that that's not true, so nothing will print. What about if num is equal to 19? Let's put it into our condition. Is 19 equal to 1? Definitely not. So I'm not going to execute this line of code. So if I was the computer, I would read this line, say, nope, that's not true, and I would pop down to the next line of code after the curly brace. That's how the computer is going to work. All right, here's our next one. Not equal to. So the not is an exclamation point. So not equal to is exclamation point and then the equal sign. So we're going to go through our code again. So the format, you're laying it out the exact same way. So if your variable num is not equal to 1, then it's going to print out num. All right, so here we go. So if num is 1, so let's say, is 1 not equal to 1? Nope. 1 is equal to 1, so it's not going to do anything. So this will remain blank. What about if num's equal to -5? Is -5 not equal to 1? Yes, -5 is not equal to 1. So -5 will print. The code inside the curly braces will execute. Now let's do this one. If num's 19. 19 is definitely not equal to 1. So again, 19 is going to print in our output. Okay, less than. Some people get confused with the less than and equal to signs, or the less than and greater than signs. So less than, the smaller side, you read from left to right, just like in regular reading. So if it's the tiny side first, then it's less than. And then the bigger side would need to be first to be greater than. So this is a less than symbol. So if num is less than 1, it's going to print it out. So is 1 less than 1? Nope. 1 is not less than 1, so nothing will appear. How about -5? Is -5 less than 1? I would say it is. And so we get a -5 to print out. What about 19? Is 19 less than 1? No, 19 is not less than 1, so nothing will print here. Our next comparison operator is greater than. Same exact format. So here we go. 1. Is 1 greater than 1? No, 1 is the same as 1. So we're not going to execute this code. We skip down. How about -5? Is -5 greater than 1? No, -5 is smaller. So it's going to, again, skip this print line and nothing will print, so it's blank. How about 19? Is 19 greater than 1? Absolutely, 19 is greater than 1. So you'll notice that 19 prints. Now we have less than or equal to. This is very important that you do the less than sign first and then equal to. If you switch these two around, it's not going to work. So be very, very, very careful. The less than goes first. So less than or equal to. Okay, is 1 less than or equal to 1? Well, it's not less than, but it is equal to. So guess what? It's going to print. How about -5? Well, -5 is definitely less than 1, so less than or equal to, so now that's going to print that. And how about 19? Nope, 19, it's greater than 1, it's not equal to it, it's not smaller than it, so nothing will print there, the code will not execute. Greater than or equal to? 1, is it greater than? No, but is it equal to? Yes, so it does count as greater than or equal to. So 1 will print. -5, well, it's not greater than, and it's not equal to, it's less than, so nothing will print there. And what about 19? 19 is definitely greater than. It's not equal to, but it's greater than, so it's going to, this code will execute. So we have a 19 there. So these are all the comparison operators. They're also called relational operators, and so this is just one single summary page of what we just went through. And the other piece that you need to know is about chained conditionals. So the code's going to work the exact same way, but you can sort of chain things together because you might want your code to do different things depending upon what the number is. And so I just did a sample code here. So I have, if it's equal to, it's just going to print. If it's equal to 1, it's just going to print the variable, which we would expect to be 1. If, then there's an else if statement. So if that's not true, it's going to pop down here. Then it's going to say, well, is the number less than 1? And if the number is less than 1, it is going to print. And I actually, just for space sake here, I put these together, but you know I'd like you to use a variable to hold this value. But I'm going to take the num variable and we'll multiply it by -2. And that's what's going to print if it's less than 1. And if the number is greater than 1, it's going to take the number and it's going to multiply the number by 2. So let's try and go through the different options. Oh, and I've already clicked, so you know what happens here. So 1 was equal to 1, and so it just printed out 1. Sorry that I clicked ahead of time on that. So this one, -5. So -5, it's going to start up here. It's going to say, no, -5 is not equal to 1. So I'm not going to execute this code, and I'm going to go down here. So then it's going to say, okay, if it's not, then is -5 less than 1? Yes, it is. So now it's going to print out this condition. And it's not going to leap to this next statement. It's going to print this condition, and then it's going to get out of these if conditions. It's going to go down here. It's not going to meet that. So it's going to print 10. So now we have another condition. So it's going to say, is it equal to 19? So 19 is not equal to 1. So it's going to go down here. It's not going to execute the other code. Is it less than 1? Is 19 less than 1? No. So it's going to go down to the next line of code. Is 19 greater than 1? Yes. All right, so now we're going to go down here, and it's going to take 19 and multiply it by 2. And it puts 38 on the screen. I hope that helped you understand more about conditionals so you can start using this technique in your code.